Ancient Rome, the original megacity. The year is 390 BC. Gaulish warriors have just sacked the city, burning Rome to the ground. At that time, Rome is barely more than a collection of villages on 7 hills. Most cities would never recover from such devastation. Yet, over the following centuries, the Romans rebuilt and transformed their settlement into the largest city the world had ever seen. At its imperial peak, Rome housed over 1 million people. Marble temples rose 10 stories high. Aqueducts carried fresh mountain water across vast distances. This was no ordinary city. It was the first true megacity, the blueprint for urban life that still shapes our world today. Using historical records, archaeology, and modern reconstruction techniques, let us walk through ancient Rome at its height and explore its most iconic places. Roman Forum. At the center of everything stood the Roman Forum, the political, religious, and social heart of an empire that spanned 3 continents. Here, power was debated, laws were made, and history unfolded in real time. The Curia, the Senate House, is one of the best preserved structures in the Forum even today. Inside, up to 600 senators gathered to shape the destiny of millions. In the center of the plaza rose the Rostra, the elevated speaker's platform. It was here that Mark Antony delivered his famous funeral oration after the assassination of Julius Caesar. Ancient sources describe how he held up Caesar's blood-stained toga and read aloud the will, which granted money and gardens to every Roman citizen. The speech ignited the crowd's fury, and they cremated Caesar's body right on that spot. Soon afterward, the temple of Divus Julius was built there, honoring Caesar as the first Roman to be declared a god. Perhaps the most sacred site in the entire Forum was the small circular temple of Vesta. Inside burned an eternal flame, tended day and night by the Vestal virgins. The Romans believed that if this flame ever went out, the empire itself would collapse. The 6 Vestals served for 30 years, sworn to chastity. Breaking that vow meant being buried alive. In return, they enjoyed extraordinary privileges. They could own property, pardon condemned prisoners, and hold influence unmatched by most Roman women. This tradition endured for over 1,000 years until it ended in the late 4th century AD. The Senate, the sacred flame, the speaker's platform, the Forum was far more than stone and marble. It was the pulsing core of the most powerful empire on Earth. Palatine Hill. Just above the Forum rose the Palatine Hill, where the emperors made their home. What began modestly with Augustus's Domus Augusti grew into vast palace complexes. By the late 1st century AD, Emperor Domitian expanded dramatically. He built the Domus Flavia as a grand ceremonial palace, state banquets for hundreds, throne rooms with ceilings 30 meters high, spaces designed to awe foreign kings and display Rome's wealth and dominance. Beside it stood the Domus Augustana, the private residence for the emperor and his family. Bedrooms, private baths, gardens, and secluded courtyards hidden from public view. Essentially, 2 palaces side by side, one for show, one for living. Domitian even created his own private stadium about 160 meters long with seating for the imperial family and close associates. Here he could watch chariot races, athletic contests, and gladiatorial displays without leaving the palace grounds. The massive Circus Maximus lay just down the hill, seating over 150,000, but apparently that was not enough for an emperor.
The Circus Maximus and Colosseum. Down below, the real spectacle unfolded in the Circus Maximus, the largest stadium in the ancient world. Over 150,000 Romans packed inside to watch chariot racing, the empire's most dangerous and addictive sport. Charioteers reached speeds up to 75 kilometers per hour, crashing in violent wrecks known as shipwrecks. Drivers tied the reins around their waists. A crash could mean being dragged to death. Survivors, however, became fabulously wealthy. One famous driver earned enough in prizes to feed the entire city for a year. Fans were fanatical, divided into 4 factions: blues, greens, reds, and whites. Loyalty ran so deep that riots sometimes erupted in the stands, claiming thousands of lives. This was not mere entertainment, it was an obsession that gripped society. Rome's most famous surviving venue was the Colosseum, smaller at about 50,000 seats, but enduring nearly 2,000 years. Here, violence was deliberate and central. Over 3 centuries, an estimated 400,000 people died in the arena: gladiators, criminals, prisoners of war, and slaves. Hundreds of thousands of animals were slaughtered: lions from Africa, bears from Germany, elephants from Egypt, hunted nearly to extinction for the sake of spectacle. A typical day began with executions at dawn, moved to animal hunts at midday, and featured gladiatorial combats in the afternoon. Beneath the arena floor lay a 2-story hypogeum, a labyrinth where slaves operated 28 elevators, raising beasts and fighters through trapdoors. To the crowd, a lion appeared as if by magic. The machinery remained hidden, only the wonder was visible. During the Colosseum's 100-day opening games alone, thousands of animals perished. This cycle of blood, speed, and spectacle defined Roman entertainment for centuries. Religion and temples. When they were not watching death in the arenas, Romans turned to their gods, erecting magnificent temples across the city. Most honored a single deity, but the Pantheon was unique. Dedicated to all the gods, the Pantheon was Emperor Hadrian's way of honoring the entire divine pantheon. Some decorative details in modern reconstructions, such as bronze fittings, are educated guesses, as much was stripped away long ago. What remains is an engineering marvel, a concrete dome spanning 43 meters with no internal supports, lit only by the oculus at the top. You can still stand beneath that same dome today, nearly 19 centuries later. Its design influenced architecture for 2 millennia, from Florence's cathedral to the U.S. Capitol. Converted to a church in 609 AD, it escaped the fate of most pagan temples. Yet Rome's most sacred building was the Temple of Jupiter on the Capitoline Hill, overlooking the Forum. Built in 509 BC, it was one of the city's oldest and largest, dedicated to Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. Triumphal processions ended here. Victorious generals climbed the hill with captives, treasure, and armies to offer sacrifices to Jupiter. For over 800 years, it stood as the spiritual center of the empire, visible from everywhere, until repeated fires and time left almost nothing behind. Military might. Temples gave Rome spiritual strength, but the empire was forged by military power. Breaking tradition that barred troops from the city, emperors stationed the elite Praetorian Guard in the Castra Praetoria, a fortified fortress just outside the walls. At peak strength, about 10,000 Praetorians served as the emperor's personal bodyguard, paid 3 times more than regular legionaries. They lived in Rome, an exception to ancient law, providing protection that sometimes turned deadly. The Guard assassinated at least 13 emperors, overthrew dynasties, and once auctioned the throne to the highest bidder. A Praetorian in ceremonial palace duty wore distinctive gear: a helmet with a transverse red horsehair crest, silver scale armor, shoulder plates of fine craftsmanship, and a red oval shield bearing the scorpion emblem, their symbol. A decorated bronze belt and ornate sword completed the elite look. On campaign or patrol, they wore standard legionary equipment or even civilian dress. Appearance signaled status and context.
Aqueducts and engineering. While emperors watched their guards, ordinary Romans relied on something more essential: the aqueducts. The Aqua Claudia stretched 69 kilometers from mountain springs to the city, entering on massive stone arches rising 27 meters high, as tall as a 9-story building. A stone channel atop carried fresh water delivered by gravity alone with precise engineering. The Aqua Claudia supplied enough water daily for hundreds of thousands, powering fountains, baths, and homes. Sections still stand today after nearly 2,000 years, a testament to Roman ingenuity. Everyday life. Rome was more than monuments. It was a living city of over 1 million souls. Most residents, about 90%, lived in insulae, multi-story apartment blocks 5 or 6 stories tall. Built of brick and wood, these were cheap and cramped. Families often shared a single room with no running water or kitchen. Higher floors meant lower rent but greater risk. No water, narrow stairs, and frequent fires or collapses. Emperors eventually limited building heights to curb disasters. A typical day might begin in a crowded insula, then lead to Trajan's Market, a multi-level complex carved into a hillside with over 150 shops and offices. Ground floors offered tabernae, selling spices from the east, fresh fish, wine, olive oil, fabrics, and pottery. Upper levels held warehouses and administrative spaces where the empire's commerce hummed. After work came the public baths, such as the baths of Trajan, sprawling over 11 hectares and accommodating thousands at once. Bathing was an hours-long ritual. Exercise in the gymnasium, swimming, sweating in hot rooms, then a cold plunge. Friends met, gossip flowed, business deals were struck, meals shared. Entry cost only a small coin, so everyone came, slaves, merchants, senators alike. Aqueduct water heated the complexes and filled the pools, granting ordinary Romans a standard of living unmatched in Europe for over 1,000 years. Rome's lasting legacy: 1 million people in a single city. Rome was the first to achieve it, and to make it function, they invented the modern metropolis. They created insulae, the world's first high-rise apartments housing most of the population. They engineered aqueducts like the Aqua Claudia, delivering 190,000 cubic meters of water daily across dozens of kilometers. They built Trajan's Market, an ancient shopping mall with stacked levels of commerce. They constructed the Colosseum and Circus Maximus, venues seating over 200,000 combined. They developed vast public baths where all classes mingled. And they built to last. The Pantheon's unreinforced concrete dome remains the largest of its kind ever constructed. Rome did not merely build a city, it answered a question no one else could. How do you sustain 1 million people in one place? Apartment blocks, stadiums, aqueducts, public spaces, concrete techniques, these solved the problem first. 2,000 years later, modern megacities follow the same blueprint. High-rises descended from insulae, stadium designs echoing the Colosseum, public infrastructure rooted in Roman innovation. We have advanced the technology, but the foundation is still Rome. Rome solved it first. We have been building on their vision ever since.